All right, Rockstars, welcome to another No Bullshit podcast for contractors. We are going to rock the house today and something that I think you're all interested in, which is like, how the hell do we go about systemizing a business? Where do we start? What's the benefits? And I've got Alex with me. He's like the guru, and man, that, helps us big time on systems. And I mean, we got a team that supports Alex as well, but we're talking about systems today.
Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life.
Alex, how you doing, buddy?
All good, Andrew. And yeah, I mean, systems in general, is a fundamental key for every business. How can you create our business without system? And when I mention system, it's not only like software related. I'm also like system in procedures. Everything has an order, and you need to account for that in your business. I mean, there's no way you can create something without a structure of what you're doing.
Like, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So people would be like, what areas of the business is he talking about? Are we talking about all areas of the business need to be systemized?
I mean, one of the own points lately that people are really like wanting to understand how it works is automations. Like, automations are everywhere nowadays, and you can see this in pretty much every CRM and every, outside there. Everything working with automations right now. And I think that one is the fundamental pieces that if you want to scale and to keep growing your business, you have to delegate a lot of that. And a lot can be delegated through automations. And this is something that is key.
So, like, in today's topic, everybody listening in, we're going to be talking about systems. We're going to be talking about automation.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about what's the value of putting a system in place, and what are some examples of automations you guys want to consider. But let me put it to you this way. If you don't put systems in place for every aspect of your business, then either you or somebody else is going to be the walking system. Okay, that means it's going to be in your head.
Yeah.
The idea of systems. So if you're listening as a contractor, if you're wearing too many hats, you got too many things in your head. If you're like, man, I got to get this stuff out of my head and into the hands of my team. You got to stop being this system. In reality, you're not a system. Okay. A system is basically something that in some form or fashion is visual, is something that's tangible, something that actually, as Alex said, it's in an orderly fashion. It's step by step.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether this is sales, we're going to talk about today, or marketing, or hiring, or
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever. Every aspect of your business needs to be systemized. Systems times people equals results. It's a simple equation, but think about this. If all you focus in on is people and you don't have systems, you're going to limit your growth. You're going to limit your ability to keep
100%.
Right? So when we look at, let's talk about systems, and then as we go through different examples, we'll talk about what are some of the things that can be automated. But I can't stress this enough for everybody listening in. This is one of the most important topics, that if you want to become a champion sale, get your profits to pay for your freedom, and get the business to run more and more without you, so you can go on a vacation, you can, put your head in the pillow and know that things are running without you, you've got to have systems. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. 100%.
So let's talk about some of these systems. Okay. So, like, if we look at some of the systems that we've worked with our clients with, give me an example of one of the systems. And then let's talk about some of the challenges that they had, or that you guys have seen them coming into before we developed or gave them the system.
All right. One of the things that happened like many times is that, there's many ways in you can automate your process or create part of your systems. And one of those is like, a lot of the tasks that you have to do in your business is moving information from here and there, collecting information, gathering information from a supplier, from your crew, from your admin. moving information is key and for every business and every operations. So one of the let's say of the ways in you can effectively gather and manipulate this information is through forms, for example. So one of the things that we notice is that when we try to create a system that involves forms, you got to know the tool. You got to know how to create a form. You got to know if you're going to use like a drop down, if you want someone to select this option, because you also want to avoid human error as much as possible. So instead of leaving people to just type in a field, you can create like a drop down so they select the option that, and if those options do not relate exactly to what they want to select, you can just have other. So in order for you to be able to do all of these, you have to know the tool. And one of the issues that we usually came across with is like, I don't have the time to learn the tool. That happens many times. We have helped many clients in this regard. We have created like a lot of forms and automation for some clients, but this was like one of the key reasons that we kept like receiving, like, I don't have time to learn everything that I have to do and to be able to implement this. It is not only about creating the system, in this case, let's say a form. It's about like how to implement it as well. So your crew and your team members understand how to use it. So there's a lot of time involved in all of that process.
Totally. So, if I look at breaking this down, if somebody's listening in, think about something that you have to touch over and over and over and over again, right? One of the things that the systems allows you to do is it allows you to take that thought process and sort of dehumanize it in the sense that we want a system to help us eliminate the potential of human error.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a balance between the system and us using it as people. Hence the, formula systems times people equals results. Okay. So if we're looking at creating a system, some of the principles you guys want to consider is, first of all, identify something that gets used all the time. Okay. So example could be a simple system for your email, right? Systemizing your email and how it gets addressed and what gets flagged and what doesn't. A system around your sales process. I mean, guys, you're constantly selling. Okay. You have to. It's part of your contracting business, right? You start a job, you finish a job, you need to start another job. Okay. It's part of the business. So that's a system, right? That could be applied to a sales process. Yeah. We just had an interview there with Jeffrey, and he was talking about, I don't know if you know Jeffrey, but he's in the Champion CO community, and he's also using some of our systems. In this case, it was about a sales system. So, I asked him the question. I said, so like, how many steps are in your sales system? And right away, he's like 10 steps. I'm like, if I had asked you this before, how many steps? He's like, no idea. Change. Sometimes 5, sometimes 20, sometimes 10. What do you see as the value of like systems? How do systems create stability in your opinion?
You mentioned email, for example. Let's go with that option for now. So email. In average, people use or check the email throughout the day at around 2.6 hours a day. Yeah. So what happened is, let's say it is now 2.6 hours. Let's say it's just like 2 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And let's say that 50% of those 2 hours, let's say 1 hour, can be automated in the sense that, follow-up emails, follow-up sequences. This person never replied to my proposal. I want to follow up. All that can be delegated through automation. So let's say that 50% of the time that you were spending on checking your email can be automated. Just 50%. That would be, an hour a day of your time. That would be 5 hours a week. That would be 20 hours a month. And let's say that you, as a business owner, the cost of your time per hour is $100. And if you have 20 hours checking your email, that would be $2,000 just to check your email based on your time. Right. So let's say that we can save that through automation. We can save all of that money, all of that time. What happened is that you have to be very clear on the type of task that you're working on. We have operational tasks, which is tasks that move your business. But you also have developmental task that makes you grow and develop and scale your business. So you were spending 20 hours a month on operational tasks that you can now delegate. And you can now invest this time in developmental tasks through coaching, learning a tool, learning a new process or whatever. The thing is that you now have the time to invest that into tasks that help you grow your business.
It's awesome.
Make sense?
It's awesome. It's awesome. So,
And this is just an idea, just a couple of the ideas that we can do through automation.
so, he said to me, he goes, what's interesting, Andrew, about these 10 steps? I go, no, tell me, dude. And this is a podcast we just recorded this morning. He goes, I only touched 2 of them. I go, what? He goes, yeah. I only touched 2 out of the 10. Because my assistant, okay, touches, 4 out of the 10. I go, well, what about the other ones? He goes, it's all automated. So think about that, right? So,
100%.
and he started off the conversation, just let it, like, you guys, if you're listening in, tell me if you can relate to this. Like, let's just look at sales, for example, right? He lost a $70,000. He says, I'll never forget the day I lost a $70,000 job. He goes, my neighbor, who's referred work to me before, and he's a tradie as well, contractor, he referred a friend of his to me. He goes, and it took us 2 weeks, took me 2 weeks to get back to that person. When I went and talked to that person 2 weeks later, they said, look, if this is the system, if this is your sales process, it took you 2 weeks to get back to me, we're not going to move forward with you, no matter how the person, no matter how good your product and service is, because like, if this is your level of communication, like, this isn't going to work for us. And he was devastated, okay? Because now he's got this referral source. He was his neighbor and friend. Dude, I just referred somebody to you and you didn't take care of them. So there's an example, like, systems backed by, people and, with icing on the cake around automations. What does it do for you? Well, you think about on the email side that you're referring to, it takes your communication to a completely different level, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree? I think a lot of people, they don't realize, like, what can be automated. What are some of the other things that can be automated?
I mean, one of the things, like, the potential for automation is pretty much endless. It all depends on what your needs as a business, because I understand that it's going to look different based on your trade. You have different sales process. You have different, like, working process. So it's going to change based on your trade as well. What's happening is that the automation has the potential to do a lot of those tasks. That's why I mentioned before, it is important for you to understand what of those tasks that you have as a business are operational, things that you have to do to move everything, and the tasks that you need to know to keep growing and scaling. And what I mentioned is, like, if you identify all of these tasks that are operational, part of your business, part of the design process, part of, all of these requires to do your kind of project or job. If you identify those operational tasks, I'm sure that you can find something there to automate. And the cool thing about automation is that you can program them to do exactly as you need them to work. They will trigger exactly when you need them to trigger. But we mentioned email, for example, but we can also, now that you mentioned lead management is one of the key features that everybody is using automation for. Especially, for example, all of this process where you find a lead, you have to nurture the lead, send some kind of information about your company, what you're doing. And let's say that lead is interested in getting a job with you. After that, let's say that you have a full onboarding process. You cannot expect that onboarding in the example, and that's an example that you put, like, for someone to wait 2 weeks until finding a reply for that makes no sense. You have to set a communication system. Like, communication is like the first key point that you would like to introduce automation for. Because if you keep a lead, for example, warm through a conversation, SMS or email, whatever it is that you want to use, there's a lead that has a potential to convert and get a job with you, So communication would be key. But what happens is that you can also automate internal processes. What I mentioned before, if you want to gather information from your crew to your admin, the admin to our supplier, you can also use automation for that. So let's say that you have some kind of pipeline for the statuses of your project, and you say, let's say this project is running low on these materials and you have to request something to a supplier, you can also automate those kind of communications as well. But it all depends on what you want it to happen. I would say that pretty much for every business owners, if you're going to start with automations, go for communication. And what I mean with this, like SMS and email, I think that would be like a game changer for everybody, because you can now take that time to do something else that is more productive and helps you, like, grow your business.
Love it. It's interesting. I'm listening to you, and it's just so true. And then it's triggering in my head that conversation with Jeffrey, and how it's giving him back over 10 hours a week. You talk about it, an hour here. In his case, automating just the sales process has increased his ability to land quality clients, filter out the bad ones, know what to say yes to, what to say no to. It's given him back, at least 10 hours a week, let alone, those clients that he would have landed that weren't the right ones, that would have been a nightmare or have been a nightmare. It allows his attention to be on the right type of client, so that, he's not wasting his time with people, and neither is that team.
Exactly.
He talks about the 10 hours of like what that's done for him. That now he can, like you said, work on the business, work on learning new principles and tactics and strategies to become a champion CEO. And I think we can go on forever. I'll just use this one last example, and then I want to talk about some other areas. I know you brought up about security. You look at hiring, right? And like one of the systems that, we've created is a hiring system. And, you look at people that somebody goes and applies for a job to your contracting company. Tell me, any of you contractors listening in, think about this. How many applicants, how many Class A people, potential employees have you missed out on because the only time they had was the end of the week on a Friday? You took off on the Friday, which, hey, rightfully so. And then come the Monday, they've already reached out to their current employer who's giving them more of a raise or addressed something when you could have engaged with them right away from an automation perspective to get them nurtured and bring them in as a new employee. I mean,
I have the perfect example for that, because one of the things that has happened with many clients is that, many of them have like a landing page where they have for like work with us, for example. And the thing is that most of them have this landing page and this form. And the only thing that happens after someone completes a form is that they get an email. That's the only thing what happens. So when they started working with us, one of the things that we did is that, that you can bring through automations, every time that someone completes your form, you're going to have it right in your CRM with the information that they completed. So you don't have someone copy and pasting every time someone completes from your email to your CRM. You know how much time that's going to save you. And this is just a tiny part of the hiring process that you're mentioning now. After that, you have all the follow-up sequences and all that, because you have to keep reaching out to them. The thing is that is a perfect example of how you can even use automation for that. And again, one of the key aspects of this is that it really holds you back. If you have some kind of CRM, some kind of software, anything that you use to track your clients, if that software is not allowing you to create at least a minimum of automation, you're staying behind. You're going to stay behind. Otherwise, you won't be able to reach out to all of those people in time. And that's not going to happen, what you just mentioned now.
It's true. Systems give you the ability to create stability, which means consistency in how you communicate, consistency in how you deliver, consistency in how you grow. And those systems, in essence, team, is what's going to allow you to scale. Okay. If people don't have systems to leverage, you'll never be able to scale your contracting business. Okay. And when I say scale, systems allow you, and automations allow you to replicate. That means if it works, you can then measure the ROI on it. Say it's a sales process, a marketing process, a hiring process. And that allows you to improve it because you're measuring all the different, like in Jeff's case, it's like, I'm able to measure the 10 touch points along the way. So I know, where we're really good and where we need to improve. And I can go and make a change and see that have an impact like right away, either good or bad, right? You can't do that just by trying to do it out of your head. No. You just can't. It's impossible. It's unscalable, right? So, because you can't really scale yourself. What you can scale is bringing the systems out of your head, putting it into the hands of your team,
exactly,
systemizing it, right? So let's talk got a few more minutes here in this podcast. Let's talk about the importance of just for change in lanes here a bit. Again, you guys, if you haven't gotten the value to systems, then probably turn off this podcast, but it's absolutely crucial. It's one of the biggest things that we bring to champion CEOs is the systems, right? Could be systems for the hiring that, done for them, systems, right, where they don't have to reinvent the wheel. And and then we can tweak and make it work for them, right? Let's talk about security. Like, let's talk about how important it is. Like, if a contractor is listening in on this and he's got maybe a basic system or a system for a couple of different things, tell us a little bit about your viewpoint about security levels and the importance.
Yeah, I mean, 100% security is it's really important, especially lately. Hacking, no one is free from the potential of being hacked. And what I mean hacked is like, imagine someone getting the information of all your database of all of your clients, for example. So imagine that. So this is something that we can apply to automation software or any software that you're working with. There are let's say, security has many layers, but I would like to cover two of those layers right now. I think those are really, really important, which is access level in terms of when you invite someone to work with you in your workspace, in your CRM, in any of your platforms, you have to make sure the role that you're going to assign to them. Not everybody should be an admin. So you have to assess exactly what they have to do in your platform, and you have to identify, okay, this person would be an admin because they need access to this, or this person is only going to be a user because they don't need access to any of. So that is key and fundamental when you are inviting someone to your platform. The next level would be the way they are accessing your tool, in the sense that, are you sharing a password, which is something that you should avoid all the time. You shouldn't be sharing your password. You should be using at least a software like LastPass or something like that. There's many software like that. You can select any of those. This one is very common and easy to use, for example. But
anybody listening, any contractors listening in, you should definitely take a look at LastPass, LastPass. We use it here for contractors, and basically, Alex, maybe you can explain more, but basically it allows for security whereby you can have passwords and stuff. You can give access to certain people using those passwords, but they don't actually get access to know what the password is.
Yeah. Pretty much, you can share a password, like a blind password. You can copy and use it, but you cannot see exactly what's the password. So at least that's the minimum you should try for. And if not, one of the recommended guidelines lately for password would be using strong passwords. And for this, I mean, there are guidelines that you can find out there in Google, for example, that you should use password of at least 16 characters. That is the new guideline for creating password, because all of these tools and the AI things can really trial and error your password until they find it. So they have to
professional hackers.
Yeah, exactly. So at least you have to use a password of 16 characters, and you should be able to use lowercase and uppercase and special character. There's a guideline for that. So every time that you're creating a tool, let's say that you're creating a new software today, you're gonna start using a new CRM, and you're gonna create an account for that new CRM. Make sure that you use a strong password there. You don't want anyone or any tool or any bot in the internet hacking.
Yeah, and I'm going to highlight something here too, is make sure that as much as possible, that being the owner of the company, that you have the ownership of that license. Okay, it's really important that you as the owner, obviously approve different softwares and what have you, but you want to have it so that you are the primary person. Doesn't mean that they can't use it, and it doesn't mean they have to come to you for everything, but it just means that if something doesn't work out, they leave, you can disable their access and you still
100%,
right? Okay.
100%.
Awesome, man. Great insights. Super, super important. So again, little walkway. Okay, guys, is from the previous one, pick one area, one system, or one area where you can systemize things. Back to what Alex was saying, especially on the operational side of things, that's going to up your communication either with your clients, your suppliers, your team. Pick one. Don't try and accomplish it all. If you want to get some help on this, you can come to us. We can give you some guidelines on how you can start and where to start. And then security, we got to make sure that we secure our software and our company. So on that note, if this is one area that really resonates with you, don't try and secure everything all at once in the sense of oh my God, I do this tomorrow. That's an overwhelming task. And take a look at LastPass. I think there's a free version of it as well.
Yeah.
And start off with what is the areas that are the most at risk, and just start chipping away at it, right? And then the last area, Alex, I want to get your genius on is like, how do people go about, give us a sort of Cole's Nose version of how do people go about picking the right automation tool or the right system?
I mean, there's many automation, but I wouldn't even start there. I would start at the CRM that you're operating or using right now. And that's what I mentioned before. If you're using a CRM that doesn't have any type of automation, you're going to stay behind. So before opening an account for an automation specific software, I would suggest at least using a CRM, some kind of software that has some kind of native automation, that at least you can automate emails internal for your company, for some clients and all that. And then you can complement that with another software specific for automation. The things that your CRM cannot do, you can do it with an external software. But I would suggest starting with a CRM that at least have some kind of automation. Otherwise, you're going to stay behind because you're going to need one software for this and another one for this and another one for this. And we want to try to select at least a CRM that allows you to as many features as possible. And if you select a CRM that has some kind of automation, I think that's it's one of the things that I think going to change the way you operate. And I think that would be a game changer for your operations. And after that, you can complement that with another software specific for automations. And even integration in the sense that, let's say that you want, I want to take some time here in the sense that you can automate stuff like what I mentioned, like email, for example, but you can also automate stuff among different platforms. So for example, let's say that you want that when something happens in your CRM, that information go right away into QuickBooks, for example. So instead of, creating like a balance sheet and then going to QuickBooks and adding everything manual, you can even move that information to another platform out of,
That's getting me.
Exactly. I mean, and the thing is that once you identify these tools and how do you want to move this information, that's what I said before, that moving information is pretty much a lot of the tasks that we do, moving information. And when you identify that, you see the potential that everything that you can do with automation, because it is not only about like what's happening with your clients and moving information as in getting more information about the project, for example. It's also about, for example, reporting. Let's say that you want to create some kind of report to say the sales that you have done throughout a month, the conversion rate and all that. And that can even, let's say, if you wanted to put it simple, you can also do something like when something happens in your CRM, to send that information to a spreadsheet that already creates like, visualizations and charts and everything.
It's unlimited, right?
Exactly. It all depends on what you want, what you need. What I've seen before is some people and some of the clients, they are not exactly clear on what they need. Right. That's one of the things that I've noticed. But those that are like really specific, I need a process to achieve this and this, we've been able to help them like right away. So I think one thing is what we can do and the things that automation can do, but another part is like, are you confident in your needs as a business? That's another point.
This is part of the process of, when people come to us, a lot of times people, they don't really know what they need. And part of our job as a coaching company is to understand that. What are really the needs? And a lot of the needs get heightened or highlighted because, the contractor that wants to become a champion CEO, he or she's not aware of what's available and what's possible. I mean, we've grown leaps and bounds as far as automation and systemization, even for profit contractors, let alone our champion CEOs. But a lot of times people don't know what's available, right? They don't really know what they need. Our job is to help guide them through that. They go, hey man, you could do this. Oh my God, I need that, right? So that's awesome, man. So I guess my little wrap up thing is, my question to you is this. You're talking to the champions from a team perspective. How important is it, almost like a leadership perspective, is it, for a champion CEO to buy into, the need for systems for their team?
I mean, you said it yourself just now, how, and I even mentioned like a piece of the puzzle there, which is like, if you want to scale your team, your business, you need to invest time in developmental tasks. that looks like different for every trade. But let's say that you need some coaching. Let's say that you need to learn a new tool. Let's say that you need to create a new organization on how or for your processes. Let's say that you need to create SOPs, standard operation procedures for your businesses. If you don't invest time in all that, how are you going to expect that you're going to grow? If you're only investing time in operational tasking, doing the same that you already have there, you're not going to grow.
Well, you never get into the operational shit.
Exactly. You're never like getting out of that part, and you're not dedicating time to do the things that helps you grow. And that when, but for the things that we have mentioned before, like if you save time, that automations like do this, like they save you a lot of time, that time, at least a part of that time, you can invest now in developmental tasks that will help you grow. Otherwise, you're going to say the same answer of, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I keep repeating that.
Yeah, that's where I think champion CEOs, a lot of people listen to our testimonials or podcasts.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy, 10x his profits. Yes, guys, you can 10x your profits, 5x your profits, like 20x your profits. If you have the right systems backed by the right people to exponentially, provide that value and service in a scalable way. So listen, man, we're going to wrap up this podcast. Alex, thanks again, dude, for all your insights today. Guys, listen in on this. You've got to systemize your business. If you want to get some insights on how to do that, reach out to us. We can help guide you through that, where to start and what to look for and all these different things. Don't try and do it alone. Don't try and be my last little thing, don't try and be a software expert. Don't try to be all these different experts that you need to be. Don't try and be your accountant. Don't try and be but be a champion CEO, right? And like what Alex said, leverage your business, systemize your business, automate your business. That's it, man. Thanks, Alex. See you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Cheers, man. Ciao.
Bye.
Hey, rock stars, thank you for watching the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button. And if you're serious about growing and need help, click on the link below. Myself and my team would love to help and give you the necessary tools so you can take your contracting business to the next level. And remember, dominate, delegate, and deliver.